Chosen one, stop scrolling. This message didn't find you by accident. You've been asking God for a sign, and this is it. Because what you're about to hear explains why help keeps showing up in your life, and why you feel the urge to push it away. The hidden moment. There comes a moment when heaven answers quietly. Not with thunder, not with miracles falling from the sky, but with people, opportunities, conversations. And most chosen ones miss it because it doesn't look how they imagined. Why this message feels personal. If this is hitting your chest right now, that's not coincidence. Chosen ones recognize truth before they understand it. Your spirit already knows. Your mind is just catching up. The burden of being chosen. Being chosen is heavy before it's glorious. You carry battles no one sees. You mature early, you feel deeply. And you learn quickly that relying on others feels dangerous. The early wounds. Most chosen ones were betrayed early. Help once came with a hidden price. Love felt conditional. So independence became your armor. Why you do trust easily. You learn to survive alone. You learn to fix yourself. You learn not to ask. And now God is challenging that survival mindset. The awakening phase. Awakening isn't light at first. It's lonely, confusing, isolating. You see through illusions others still believe. And that separation hurts more than you admit. The silent assignment. Chosen ones are trained in silence. No applause, no validation. Just inner growth and spiritual pressure. This is where strength is forged. Why society resists you. You don't fit systems built on fear. Your presence exposes what's fake. People feel uncomfortable around truth. So they try to dim your light. The labeling. You're called too much. Too intense, too quiet, too different. But what they really mean is uncontrollable. And chosen ones were never meant to be controlled. God's unexpected help. Here's the truth no one tells you. God rarely sends help the way you expect. He sends it through imperfect people. Through timing that bruises your pride. Why help triggers you? Help threatens your identity as the strong one. It challenges your belief that you must suffer alone. It asks you to soften where you learn to harden. And that feels terrifying. The test of discernment. Not all help is meant to stay. Some help is seasonal. Some is instructional. Discernment, not fear, is your assignment. Divine messengers in human form. Sometimes angels don't have wings. They have voices, hands, resources. And you'll miss them if you expect perfection. God uses vessels, not idols. Why you push them away? You fear disappointment more than isolation. You'd rather struggle alone than hope again. But isolation is not holiness. It's a coping mechanism. The shift God is forcing. God is moving you from survival to support. From isolation to alignment. From control to trust. This is not weakness, this is elevation. The ego versus the assignment. Your ego says, I don't need anyone. Your soul says, I'm tired. God listens to the soul. And He's answering it now. Help doesn't mean dependency. Accepting help doesn't erase your strength. It refines it. It teaches collaboration instead of exhaustion. Even warriors need rest. The pattern you must break. Stop rejecting blessings disguised as people. Stop testing what God already approved. Stop assuming loss before it happens. This cycle ends with you. Why timing matters. Help arriving late is still help. Help arriving humbly is still divine. Don't confuse your expectation with God's intention. He sees the full picture. Spiritual pride warning. Sometimes pride dresses as independence. Sometimes fear pretends to be wisdom. Chosen ones must stay teachable. Even Moses needed Aaron. The confirmation signs. Peace without pressure. Support without control. Correction without humiliation. These are signs of God-sent help. What happens if you accept? Momentum returns. Clarity sharpens. Energy multiplies. Because alignment accelerates destiny. What happens if you do? Cycles repeat. Fatigue deepens. Delay stretches longer. Not as punishment, but as lesson. God's gentle warning. Don't make life harder than it needs to be. You've already proven your strength. Now prove your obedience. Trust is the next level. This is your confirmation. If you've been questioning that person, that opportunity, that door, this is your answer. Pray, discern, don't panic. Heaven is assisting you. The inner resistance. Your past is screaming, protect yourself. But your future is whispering, receive. Which voice will you obey? One keeps you safe, the other sets you free. The chosen ones shift. You're not losing independence. You're gaining divine reinforcement. This season requires unity, not isolation. God is building, not breaking. Final awakening moment. You don't have to do this alone anymore. You were never meant to. Help is not a trap. It's provision. If this message touched you, acknowledge it. Like this video to seal the confirmation. Comment I receive if you're done pushing help away. Subscribe to Chosen Wave and walk this awakening with us. What kind of help do you feel God sending you right now? The resistance phase. After recognition comes resistance. Your spirit knows the truth, but your habits fight it. You question motives, you overanalyze tone. Because accepting help means rewriting who you had to become to survive. Trauma's hidden voice. Trauma speaks softly but convincingly. It says, remember last time. It warns you with memories, not discernment. And if you're not careful, you'll obey fear thinking it's wisdom. Why God sends help now? God never sends help early. He sends it when pride has been exhausted. When isolation has taught its lesson. When you're ready to receive without worshiping the vessel. The difference between help and distraction. Distraction drains you. Help strengthens you. Distraction demands constant proving. Help offers growth without performance. Your nervous system is adjusting. Peace can feel foreign to the traumatized. Support can feel unsafe to the hyper-independent. Your body is learning a new normal. That discomfort doesn't mean danger, it means healing. Why chosen ones attract helpers? Your assignment is too heavy for one set of hands. God builds teams around callings. Even when you don't ask. Especially when you don't ask. The fear of owing someone. You confuse help with debt. But God doesn't send collectors, He sends contributors. You're not being owned. You're being assisted. Seasonal people, eternal lessons. Not everyone is meant to stay. Some are bridges, not destinations. Don't reject the bridge because it doesn't look like the city. Cross with gratitude, not attachment. When help challenges your control. Control kept you alive once. But now it's limiting your expansion. Help forces flexibility. And flexibility is required at higher levels. The test of humility. Can you receive without shrinking? Can you accept without explaining your worth? Chosen ones don't beg, but they don't block either. Humility keeps the channel open. Why isolation delays destiny. Isolation feels spiritual, but produces stagnation. Growth needs mirrors. Refinement needs feedback. God uses people to sharpen people. Divine order replacing chaos. Help bring structure where chaos lived. Systems where survival ruled. Rhythm where exhaustion dominated. This is God restoring balance, not taking control. Your role is still sacred. Help doesn't erase your assignment. It amplifies it. You're still the visionary. They're the reinforcement. While you're being watched. When help arrives, so do observers. Not to judge, but to learn. Your obedience becomes permission for others. Chosen ones shift atmospheres by example. The internal surrender. This isn't about trusting people blindly. It's about trusting God deeply. You surrender outcomes, not discernment. That's the balance. The quiet confirmation. Notice how things start aligning. How resistance softens. How peace increases instead of anxiety. That's how you know it's real. When help requires vulnerability. Vulnerability isn't exposure, it's honesty. You don't have to share everything. Just enough to let support land. Walls block enemies and allies. God is rewriting your definition of strength. Strength isn't endurance alone. It's wisdom, timing, and collaboration. You're not weak for receiving. You're mature for recognizing provision. The moment of choice. You will either retreat to comfort or step into alignment. Both feel familiar. Only one moves you forward. When help feels too good. Sometimes help arrives gently. No pressure, no manipulation. And that's when suspicion rises. Because chaos trained you to expect a cost. The addiction to struggle. Struggle can become familiar. Pain can feel productive. But ease doesn't mean you're undeserving. It means the season has shifted. God's pattern of relief. God never drains his vessels forever. He pours, then he replenishes. Burnout is not holy. Rest is part of obedience. Why help test your faith? Faith isn't only believing during lack. It's trusting during provision. It's allowing blessing without sabotage. That's the deeper test. Your past is not a prophet. What failed before doesn't define what's sent now. You've grown, you've discerned. You're not the same receiver you once were. Stop punishing the present for the past. The fear of being seen. Help often brings visibility. Someone witnesses your process. And chosen ones are used to hiding. But exposure isn't always danger, it can be destiny. God's check on your boundaries. Receiving help doesn't remove boundaries. It refines them. Healthy help respects your no. Anything else isn't divine. Why you're triggered by kindness. Kindness confronts unhealed places. It highlights what you learned to live without. Your tears aren't weakness. They're release. The silent healing. Healing doesn't always announce itself. Sometimes it shows up as calm, as sleep, as not needing to prove anymore. Help as alignment, not rescue. God isn't saving you from your path. He's aligning you with it. This isn't escape. It's acceleration. The misinterpretation of independence. Independence was your shield. But shields are meant for battle, not building. You can lay it down without losing identity. Your mission still stands. Why chosen ones struggle with receiving. You were trained to give, to carry, to sacrifice. But receivership is also a spiritual muscle. The flow of divine exchange. Heaven moves in exchange. Giving and receiving. Breathing in and out. Blocking one blocks the other. The weight lifting quietly. Notice how heaviness eases, how clarity sharpens, how energy returns without effort. That's support doing its work. God's protection in help. True help doesn't entangle. It liberates. It doesn't confuse. It confirms. When help offends your old identity, the version of you that survived feels threatened. But that version did its job. Honor it. Then let it rest. The invitation you keep delaying. You felt it more than once. That nudge to accept. That pause before rejecting. That's grace knocking gently. The fear of disappointment again. Disappointment shaped your caution. But expectation fuels growth. You can hope without idolizing. That's maturity. The subtle expansion. Help expands capacity. More vision. More reach. More impact without more exhaustion. God is building capacity, not dependence. This season is about sustainability. Long-term calling needs support systems. You're being trained for longevity, not just survival. When silence breaks, there will be a moment when you stop resisting. Not loudly, not dramatically. Just a quiet internal okay. And heaven responds immediately. The relief you didn't expect. Relief doesn't always feel like joy at first. Sometimes it feels like numbness lifting. Like tension leaving your shoulders. Like breathing without forcing it. Why God uses ordinary people. Extraordinary help would distract you. Ordinary vessels keep your focus on God. This protects you from dependency and preserves humility. The fear of losing control. Control feels safe when life was once unstable. But control limits flow. Trust allows movement. God moves through surrender. The recalibration period. After accepting help, there's adjustment. You may feel awkward, out of rhythm. That's your system recalibrating to peace. When old patterns try to return, you may want to pull back again. To test if they'll chase. To see if support disappears. Don't sabotage what God stabilized. Help doesn't cancel discernment. Stay aware. Stay grounded. Receiving doesn't mean abandoning wisdom. It means using it without fear. The spiritual maturity check. Can you accept without guilt? Without overcompensating? Without self-punishment? That's the new level. Why God removes excess pressure. Pressure sharpened you. Now precision is required. You don't need more weight. You need clarity. When help multiplies impact, suddenly things move faster. Doors open smoother. Resources stretch further. That's divine multiplication. The shift in self-talk. You stop saying, I have to. You start saying, I get to. That change rewires destiny. Language shapes reality. Why this feels unfamiliar. You lived in survival mode too long. Peace feels suspicious at first. But peace is the proof. Chaos never built calling. The alignment checkpoint. Things align without force. Conversations happen naturally. Support shows up on time. That's confirmation. The release of hyperindependence. You don't announce it. You don't explain it. You just stop carrying everything alone. And life responds. God's gentle leadership. God doesn't drag you. He invites you. Help is invitation, not command. You still choose. When help reveals your next level. Support reveals what's next. New responsibilities. Wider reach. You are being prepared. The hidden fear of success. Sometimes you push help away. Because success feels scarier than failure. Failure is familiar. Expansion demands courage. Why you're being strengthened, not softened. Support doesn't weaken resolve. It sharpens focus. It preserves energy. You're being fortified. The end of proving. You no longer need to prove resilience. Your endurance is established. Now it's about effectiveness. And effectiveness requires support. The quiet confidence forming. Something inside you stabilizes. Not arrogance, not pride. Just knowing you're not alone anymore. That assurance changes how you move. Why God removes the lone wolf season. Isolation trained you. But isolation is not the destination. No one fulfills purpose alone. Even prophets had communities. When help exposes old narratives, you notice the lies you believed. I'm a burden. I have to earn care. Help proves those narratives false. The permission you never gave yourself. You never allowed ease. You equated rest with laziness. God is correcting that distortion. Rest fuels revelation. The spiritual reset. Receiving help resets your nervous system. You're less reactive. More present. That's healing in motion. Why this season feels slower but stronger. Speed used to come from pressure. Now it comes from alignment. This pace is sustainable. And sustainability protects the calling. The difference between support and saving. Support walks beside you. Saving drags you. God sends partners, not rescuers. You're still responsible. When you stop over-explaining, you realize you don't need to justify yourself. Healthy help doesn't demand your story. It respects your journey. Silence becomes safe. The return of creative flow. Ideas come easier. Vision feels lighter. You create from inspiration, not survival. That's alignment restored. Why God protects you from burnout. Burnout shortens assignment. God thinks generationally. He preserves you for longevity. Help is part of that protection. The old you watching the new you. You notice the shift. Less tension. Less urgency. More trust. The moment resistance fully breaks. Not with emotion, but with peace. You stop fighting what's supporting you. That's surrender. Why chosen ones must learn interdependence. Independence builds strength. Interdependence builds legacy. Your work is bigger than you. Others are meant to carry pieces. The inner child healing. Help reaches places words never could. It tells the younger you. You're safe now. And something softens. When God confirms through consistency. Support doesn't vanish. It remains steady. Consistency builds trust. That's how God reassures you. The new boundary awareness. You say yes without guilt. No without fear. Balance returns. That's maturity. The quiet expansion continues. More capacity. Less strain. Greater reach. This is how God builds kingdoms, slow and strong. When help teaches you to receive love. Support isn't always practical. Sometimes it's emotional. Someone listening without fixing. Someone staying without conditions. Why that feels uncomfortable. You learned love came with strings. That care was temporary. That people leave when you relax. God is rewriting that belief gently. The unlearning process. Unlearning hurts more than learning. It dismantles what kept you alive. But survival isn't the same as living. This is the crossing point. When God slows your reactions, you pause before pulling away. You breathe before rejecting. That pause is growth. That space is healing. Help as a mirror. Support reflects your worth back to you. It shows you how God sees you. Valuable, worth investing in. Not disposable. The end of emotional starvation. You no longer accept crumbs. You no longer normalize neglect. Help recalibrates your standards. You remember what fullness feels like. Why this triggers old grief. Receiving now reminds you of what you lacked before. You grieve quietly. Not from bitterness, but release. Grief clears space for joy. The shift from guarded to grounded. You're not hypervigilant anymore. You're present. Alert but not anxious. That's regulated strength. God's patience with your hesitation. He doesn't rush you. He understands the scars. He stays consistent. Consistency heals trust. When help aligns with prayer, you realize you prayed for this, but imagined it differently. God answered accurately, not comfortably. He always does. The softening of your inner world. Your inner dialogue changes. Less criticism. More compassion. That's the fruit of safe support. Why you're less reactive now. Support creates margin. Margin creates clarity. Clarity dissolves fear. You respond instead of react. The subtle confidence others notice. People sense the difference. You're calmer, more assured, anchored instead of armored. When help reveals hidden capacity, you discover energy you forgot you had. Creativity returns. Vision stretches. Support unlocks dormant potential. The new relationship with control. You don't grip life tightly anymore. You steward it. Control becomes guidance, not fear-driven dominance. Why God is teaching you trust slowly. Fast trust breaks easily. Slow trust roots deeply. God builds foundations, not moments. This will last. The end of self-abandonment. You stop leaving yourself to survive others. You honor your needs. Help reinforces self-respect. That's alignment. When you finally rest without guilt. Rest doesn't feel stolen anymore. It feels deserved. Sanctioned. Holy. The season of integration. You're not becoming someone new. You're integrating who you always were. Strength and softness together. That's wholeness. Why God heals in layers. If He healed everything at once, you wouldn't recognize yourself. Layer by layer protects your identity. This pace is mercy. When help stabilizes your vision, your dreams feel clearer now. Less fog. Less urgency. Purpose settles instead of rushes. The quiet end of self-betrayal. You stop overriding your intuition. You listen without second-guessing. Support reinforces inner truth. Trust returns inward first. Why this feels like exhale. Your body notices before your mind. Shoulders drop. Jaw relaxes. That's safety registering. The return of playfulness. Laughter feels natural again. Not forced. Not defensive. Joy resurfaces when danger leaves. When God confirms through ease. Effort decreases. Flow increases. That's not laziness. That's alignment rewarded. The difference between pushing and being carried. You still walk. You still choose. But you're not dragging the weight alone. That's partnership. Why help doesn't diminish authority. Your voice doesn't weaken. It steadies. Authority rooted in peace speaks louder. People listen differently now. The rewriting of masculine and feminine energy. Giving and receiving balance. Strength and nurture coexist. You stop overcompensating. Wholeness replaces extremes. When you stop bracing for impact, you're no longer waiting for collapse. You trust stability. That's a major shift. Your nervous system learns safety. God's long-term vision for you. He's not just helping you survive this season. He's preparing you for influence. People will follow your steadiness. Support train that. The end of emergency mode. Everything no longer feels urgent. You plan instead of react. Presence replaces panic. That's leadership formation. Why you're more selective now. Support sharpens discernment. You notice what drains. You choose what nourishes. That's wisdom activated. The inner authority settling in. You trust your decisions. You don't seek constant confirmation. Help restored confidence. Now you lead from clarity. When God allows you to be held, even leaders need shelter. Even strong ones need support. This isn't regression. It's divine allowance. The strength of soft power. You influence without force. You lead without pressure. Soft power lasts longer. God prefers it. The quiet momentum building. Things move steadily. No chaos. No drama. Just progress. Chosen one, this is your activation moment. If this message spoke directly to your spirit, don't ignore it. Like this video right now as a sign that you're done rejecting what God is sending. Comment, I receive God as help, if you're choosing trust over isolation today. Subscribe to Chosen Wave and walk this awakening with us. What kind of help do you feel God has been sending that you've been pushing away?